So, how do you balance homeschool, parenting, and marriage? What a great question as part of our 100 plus questions on homeschooling. I'll tell you, this is not as difficult as it sounds. The problem is when we don't understand two simple things. One is balance, and the other is hierarchy. Okay, so balance. Balance is the right amount of the right thing. My name is Dr. Fred Ray Lybrand, and my wife Jody and I mentor families in how to raise independent thinkers, independent homeschoolers. Well, there's nothing more valuable in all of this than a mom and dad getting their mind in trying to produce that outcome, how this stuff balances homeschool, parenting, and marriage. So first, balance. What is balance? A lot of times we tend to think balance is 50-50. So we want to have the right, if we do this for a certain amount of time, we should balance it with something else. You've read this long, you should go outside and play this long, we might say. That's not exactly the nature of balance. Balance is the right amount of the right thing. So soup, you don't want it to be 50% salt, but some salt or flavor in the soup really helps dramatically, rather than if you ever had unsalted V8 or something like that. So it's the right amount. So the right amount of attention to homeschool, the right amount of attention to parenting, the right amount of attention to marriage. That would be the nature of the game. Now, circumstances can affect us. When people are deployed, for example, overseas, it's hard to spend that much time on the marriage, as it were. But that notwithstanding, in the normal day-to-day nature of things, what we want to understand is first, it's balance. The right amount of the right thing, and you get to sort of figure that out. How much attention to homeschool, how much attention to parenting, how much attention to marriage, how do those things overlap? But the second is hierarchy, and that is what you value first, second, third, and however you put that together, it's going to affect everything. If you have a family system where the homeschool is ahead of the marriage, it's going to take a certain look. If you have a homeschool in which parenting, whatever you understand that to be, is the dominant thing over the marriage and the homeschool, it's going to have a certain look. I'm going to argue with you that from a leveraged viewpoint, the small dial that moves the whole thing, it's that marriage which is the priority. I know this comes as difficult information because I know marriages have struggles. Jody and I coach couples and have done that for decades and have worked through our own challenges in marriage as well. No one's saying it's easy. And I know in particular the audience I'm talking to right now are predominantly women, because you moms are the ones that predominantly homeschool. That's just a fact. You may not know this, but in the divorce world, 70% of the divorces statistically are initiated by the women. So that kind of tells me something is amiss or strugglesome. This may or may not be your marriage. The question is, how do you get your marriage to be as good as it can be? Because my understanding is that when the marriage works, the parenting starts to work, and that gives you room for the homeschooling to work. That would be the sequence. If you have a good marriage and good parenting, you're a great fit for homeschooling. If you're using homeschooling to make up for the parenting and the marriage, you're going to have struggles. So the reason it works this way is, you can imagine when you were a kid, if your mom and dad actually were secure in their love and create an environment which you didn't ever think, are they going to get divorced? I know both Jody and I had those things growing up, worries when our parents were conflicting. My parents did finally divorce. Jody's didn't. But those kind of insecurities on a child will drive some acting out or some struggle or some distraction or stress or all kinds of things. So that marriage, just from a safety viewpoint, creates a context for something awesome in the marriage. The challenge here, I think, is that when we come around to parenting and homeschooling, we tend to think 50-50. So dad should be 50% involved, mom should be 50% involved, or something like that. It's never going to work that way. Somebody is going to be better at certain things than others. Somebody's going to be available for more of the full-time context. It's not uncommon for the dads to work and the moms to have that dynamic with nurture. So I would say that's probably very traditional in homeschools, but not unique. In our context, I did a lot with homeschool, but Jody certainly did the greater portion, especially in the earlier years with the kids. She was home with them and focused on that, and that was our game plan. So you in your marriage and in your homeschool and your parenting, I would argue it needs to work like this. Work on that marriage. And you do that largely in what you model and focus on. Is the marriage the priority? How do you show that to the kids? Do you all ever go out without the kids? Or spend any time alone without the kids? Is it a family room and a family bed and a family everything? If you do that, you're making no distinction in the marriage. And in my experience, you're not modeling to the kids to go out and to be independent, to find them a spouse, build their family. That's really what you want to do. Jody and I would model it this way. Our bedroom was not for the kids. That was our place. And our focus was to let that be our place. And they could wonder what went on or not, and hopefully we came out happy from being in there. It was a refuge. It was our place. At the kitchen table, we didn't sit across from each other because that's oppositional. We sat by each other. In church, we would sit by each other and put the kids around us on either side, not corralling the kids between us. This was just our understanding. But in doing that, we were saying to the kids, our marriage is central to this thing. And so figuring out how to make sure we spent time together, to learn how to resolve things together, to learn how to be like-minded about homeschooling or parenting together. That's the key. It's the centerpiece of the marriage. And if you don't have kids, or if you know people without kids, they still have a family if they're married. That's the game. So what I would challenge you to understand is that whatever you need to do, you begin by making the marriage the priority. And then inside of that, get like-minded about how you approach parenting. What are you modeling to the kids? What are your standards? What are you trying to do? And then inside of that, the homeschool game can begin to make sense. I hope that helps. Bless you.